Fabulous day, great world. Hopefully everybody is super great and getting better. Welcome back to the channel, the Corey Webster Experience. I am your host, I am C Web, Corey Webster, and we back with another, thoughtful message, discussion. We're talking about new environments, and with the draft happening with, over 2,000 kids or so in the transfer portal, I think it's important to, and even the high school kids that's going to be going into, college. Some go in the spring, some go later on. But anyway, some may be already there now. There's a lot going on now. So some may enter in some summer programs, like Summer Scholar. Shout out to, Marcus Randall and all those guys that did Summer Scholar at LSU, Randall Gay. But yeah, I just think it's important to know a few things, when you're going into those different environments, and it could be a bit overwhelming, but let's try to give you some things that you can hang your hat on when you're in those situations. So setting the stage, all right? Everybody knows freshmen are coming in, and it's a moment where some may look to manipulate and take advantage of the younger kids that's coming in, or the younger group that's coming in. I don't want you to be naive to be like, that doesn't happen, because it does. It's some of the older classmen that look at vice versa, the younger girls or the younger guys, and, try to have they pick up the litter. But I want you guys to be aware of, setting the stage when you enter in those environments. And it's okay to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. That's okay, because it's new. I'm happy to be in college. I'm happy, and excited about this experience that I'm about to embark on. But I also want you to be aware. Be aware of the things that have got you thus far, and, not allow the bright-eyed bushy-tailed to, make you naive to the things that you may be around you in these situations, as in going to a college campus or going to a new institution or going to a professional team. It's, a lot of things that can be there. So I want you to be prepared for them. How you prepare for them, the same decision-making complex that you use to get you here, let's stand on that. The same moral compass that you use to get you here, let's stand on those things. Be rooted in your core identity, who you are as a person, your morals, your values, your principles, the stuff that you hold near and dear to your heart. Be rooted into that, and don't waste a moment or opportunity to grow in those things. You understand that? Don't allow, the willingness to impress someone to overshadow the morals, values, and principles that your village has given you when you're going into this new institution. Don't chase acceptance. Don't be the person that want to be accepted by your new teammates, or by that you fail to recognize that they may not be teaching you some of the positive things that you need to learn, and that's going to help you going forward. Be authentic in yourself. We had, what they call him, gator skin right now. He always had this thing called Be Your Own Man. And I think he just got that off of his process, but it's, essential now as it was when I was going through college. Be your own man. And what that means is, the knowledge that you have had and that you have learned to this point right here, stand on those things and be your own man. Don't just do something to be cool, or don't just do something because society says it's all right to do. Do things because your village, whoever taught you how to be a young man, will be proud of the things that you're doing. So stay rooted in your core identity. Understand the environment that you're going into. Right now, you're going to be going in an environment where you're going to be faced with a lot of challenges on and off the field, on and off the court. If you are just a student, on and off the campus that you're going to be on, it's going to be males, females there, right? It's going to be a place where your mom, dad, your support system won't be there. They won't be waking you up in the morning to go to class. These are some of the responsibilities that you're going to have to inherit that you in this new environment. You have to be responsible to waking yourself up. You're going to be responsible for the decision that you make. When a young lady, young man want to stay up or stay over, you're going to have to say, nah, that ain't cool. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll have this conversation. We'll carry it on. You're going to be responsible for that. And don't let someone's energy overwhelm your decision-making ability. So your decision-making, make sure that you have a circle of people, accountability partners that's going to empower you to make the right decisions, and don't make you feel bad about making those decisions. New relationships is, said to be, it could be a potential asset or it could be a liability. So you want to have potential assets, no relationship that you are, creating. You want that to add value to you, as well as you want to add value to those people that you become friends with or you create these new relationships with. You don't want to be the liability in a friendship. You don't want to be on that side, but you also want to be aware of others that may come in your circle and be a liability to you, so you can build boundaries up for those individuals and you don't allow them to affect your mood, your vibe, or your process. Association carries a lot of perception. So they're going to have people on campus that already have a perception of who they are. Some of them may have good perceptions. Some of them may have bad perceptions. You know what I mean? But they're going to have people that when you get there, their reputation is going to precede them. You have to be aware of that, because if you align your reputation with a reputation of a person that has not been doing the right thing, well then if you connect with that individual, well then the leaders in that institution or that organization is going to look at you in a way that says, hey, maybe we have to watch closely at this guy, or maybe we may need to check him, to make sure that he's making good decisions because of the crowd that he's hanging with, or she is hanging with. So be aware of your association. Your reputation can shape your future, or it can, affect your future going forward. So look for the red flags. Look for, people that are entitled. Look for people that are accountable, that are responsible. And you want to, kind of tend to be with the latter, the people that's being responsible and accountable, or the people that may, check you on some of your things, and it may not feel good in the moment, but it's fitting to make you a better person going forward, right? You also want to use long-term thinking. You don't want to be a person that have short-term thinking. What I mean by that is making a decision in the present moment, but that decision that you make in the present may feel good, and others may look at like, yeah, that's great, but then, 2-3 months down the road, a year down the road, that decision wasn't the best because it didn't bring the outcome that you was looking to bring long-term vision. So understand, think of it as long-term. Keep your eye on the long-term goals. Man, I'm in this institution. What are my goals in this institution? My goals are to what? Graduate, be a student athlete, be the best student athletes that I can be, make it to, the next level. But then make sure that all of the action that you are doing is aligned with your long-term goal. All right. Development is done inside of a team. So make sure that even inside of your large team, there are small teams, small communities. Make sure that your community is a community that fosters great reputation, accountability amongst each other, being responsible, being each other's accountability partner. So y'all small team make the overall team better. And by you guys being an example of what to do and not being an example of what not to do. So I know a lot of individuals are going to be going into, new schools or new, jobs or organizations. So that's just some of the things that I know that can help you going into it. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there that's looking to take advantage of you. And that's just the honesty of it. Right? I'm just trying to be transparent with you guys. A lot of individuals are going to be looking at how can I get over on them? Whether it's a female, whether it's other males, whether it's the same sex. It's not all about sexual, but it's individual teachers. So be aware of who you are as an individual. Be aware of your flaws, your strengths, your weaknesses, and understand that you are constantly working to be a better version of yourself, so you can even work on those little things right there. And we're gonna get into some questions that can help you guys, going forward in your process, because I want everybody to do well. And I think if you have these discussions and you hear these things that, athletes that was before you or students that was before you, they had to go through similar situations. They didn't just go through it smooth sailing. So hopefully you can pick up something from my experience. Like I said, I like to be observant. And, I just formulate my ideas off of being observant, and I give it back to you. Or, a lot of the times, I've been through some of these situations, so I want to give you my opinion or perspective from my experience. So we can just dive into it.
What does it mean to stay grounded when everything around you is new and unfamiliar?
So for me, staying grounded is always being connected to a higher source. Doesn't matter what religion it is, but being connected to the higher source, God, Jesus, Jehovah, Allah, whatever that higher source is to you, staying grounded in that. And all of the many lessons that have gotten you this far and that you have learned through your village, through your process, stay grounded into that. Don't just get there and think just because somebody has been there a year or two ahead of you, or if somebody is connected to more followers or connected to something that's other than what you know, to just forget and drop everything that you have learned thus far and start being aligned with their vision. And because that may not be for you, and you don't know where that person is leading you. Now, over time, when you get to know individuals, there's going to be individuals that's doing the right things that you can mimic and follow, as well as teach them things because they align and you are like-minded individuals. But staying true to who you are, being authentically you, and staying grounded into the things that you have learned and have got you thus far. That's what I think can help you in being grounded and being humble, and helping you transition to a new environment seamlessly.
Okay, nice. How do you identify people who are really for you versus those who are just around you?
This may sound, kind of cliche and corny. The individual that is not for you is giving you all the signs. Sometimes we choose not to look at the signs or hear the signs or embrace the signs because of, maybe their status on the campus, maybe their status on the team. So we choose to ignore those signs and just move forward with that individual or that system, and embrace those things, and knowing it's not right. They show us the signs, God always does a great job of illuminating, enlightenment, and we just have to embrace those signs. And the individuals that for us, most of the time it comes in the form of something that's harsh, or something that's, when I say harsh, let me not use it like that. Something that doesn't feel good. When somebody's for you, they're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you things that you need to hear. And sometimes that can come off, a bit harsh to a person that's not ready to receive that type of information. So for both sides, you're going to have the signs. One doesn't feel good. And the one that doesn't feel good, for the most part, is the one that is probably uncomfortable and that's going to be beneficial to you. And the one that feel good out the gate, without any thought being put into it, is probably the one that's not good for you. Your parents always said, or the people around you always say, I know my village, they always said, if it's comes easy, it's probably not worthwhile having. That's kind of the basis of that. If something is too easy, if they doing things that is freely and you don't have to, really fight for those things, it's probably not worthwhile being around.
Okay. That's some great information. Last question. What advice would you give your younger self about choosing the right circle in a new environment?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say to my younger self, because, and I'm not, toot my horn or anything like this, but I think I had a great support system and a great village that led me, and showed me what a leader or great examples of a leader or what you need to do as a productive citizen in society. I had those examples. So what I would say is having grace for individuals that may not have had that same example for me. I don't know if I was always loving or showed empathy in those situations where it may was a time or two or three or four or five that I could have showed grace to individuals that may not have had the same upbringing or same village or the same support system. And I may have dismissed them or, was not my best self, is understanding that, being aware of that, because where I came from, I just thought automatically that everyone knew this information that, I had learned. I didn't think of myself as being, unique or a unicorn when it came to that type of information. So for individuals, I may have, overlooked or not been as empathetic as I would like to be, knowing what I know now and being enlightened and being aware of who I am more and maturing. I probably could have, swayed more people over to this side by showing more love and not doing it in a way where it wasn't embraced by those individuals that didn't have some of the things that I had growing up. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That was great information.
Yeah. I think one more question would be great. Number 4 right there, I think is an awesome question, because sometimes this can be, I'll let you ask the question first before I give my 2 cents.
How do you hold on to your values when you're trying to earn your spot, impress coaches, and build new friendships?
That is a very my homeboy got a bar in a song that he says Jesus hung out with the thugs and the great people. So that's a thin line. You have to be able to balance that line with what I just kind of mentioned, with empathy, with having grace for other individuals because they may not be where you are in your process, and understanding that just because a coach is older than you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are mature than you. It's a lot of immature coaches out there that hadn't had their breakthrough. And it takes a lot of maturity for a 17, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old to have grace for someone that's older than them. So, I'm going to tell those guys that all of the coaches that you're going to be around, all of the leaders that you're going to be around, they may not have it figured out yet. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn from them. And that doesn't mean that they can't add value to you. Now it becomes a balancing act for that individual to know what to take away from that individual, what not to take away from that individual, but also be in a position to respect that individual because that's a person of authority. That's a person of, my elder, right? So I have to do that and kind of track that very thin, narrow line. And it comes from, always how you fill your reserve tank up is by getting in the good book, by listening to the stories, the message that he already done put in a good book. It has a lot of good messages in that book to allow us to have grace and empathy for all individuals, not just individuals that are younger than us, but all individuals. And you can still be true to who you are as a person and true to your goals, but not be a person that wants negativity for another person just because their goals don't align with your goals. And I can be an example of what to do to my meeting room if I'm a DB. I can be, coach always talk about having 2 forms of selfishness. There's a good selfish and there's a bad selfish. I go with the good selfish first. I don't like to say good, the great selfish. The great selfish is I have goals and I'm willing to fulfill my goals by any means necessary, but not negative means. What I mean by that, I'm going to get up early in the morning because I get up early in the morning, I'm going to check on my roommate to ask him if he want to come up and get this early morning workouts or early morning routine going, right? So what that's going to do, that's offering, and he may not do it all the time, but having grace and empathy when he don't do it, but also offering it to him every time, not leaving him behind. So in me doing that, that makes me better. That makes my room better. But then I do the same thing in my meeting room with my other DBs. I let them know, hey, I'm going to be out here, hey, man, getting working. Hey, you're more than welcome to join me, right? So that in my house that I live in, my apartment, we're getting better because we're doing extra work. We're doing it early. And in my DB room, we are doing the same thing. And then that carries on to the DB room, to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm making it better. The negative side of being selfish is I want to be great, and I'm going to be a nuisance or negative to anybody else that get in my way. And I want them to suffer because I want to be great. That's the negative side. That's the bad side of being selfish, all right? So it's okay to be the first, but not the second version of it, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? And it, I have to do that with coaches, with adults, with my peers, and so on and so forth. So again, these are some nuggets that, you know, I've learned through my experience. You know, we could dive deeper into a lot of these topics that we discussed today. But I appreciate you guys, as always, for, you know, locking in with us. We always say, look, turn on notification bell if you want to be notified when these videos touch down. Like these videos, share these videos with parents and athletes that are in the game, or, you know, just students that are in the game. Always get inside the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. And, you know, I'm going to try to reach out and also answer those comments that you guys are talking about. As always, y'all have a fabulous day. We appreciate you guys. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.